long ago, we looked at different events that happen on certain days, like National Pie Day and, Barbecue Day. And one of the things that we found when we were looking at all those days is Trey found that the first week of March was Women in Construction Week. They
That's
get a whole
great
week.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
a whole week.
A whole week.
Some get a day, some get a week, some get a month.
Yeah, well, so I think the women in construction should get more than a week.
Yeah.
But so we wanted to bring some of the iconic figures in the pool industry, the women that are in it and serve it, and so we're going to have several different people on this episode to kind of give us a little bit of their background and knowledge, and just the adventure on how they got into the pool industry. And we have everything from a journalist to a president of a pool company and lead designer to a landscape architect, and also someone that's basically knows everything about pool plaster in the industry. So those are four of the titles of, well, that's not their titles, but anyway, their job descriptions.
Four of the women that we're bringing on to the podcast to discuss swimming pools.
Discuss swimming pools, and also to give their perspectives on things that a homeowner ought to look at.
I love it.
And these people are all icons in the industry, have been at it for decades. So,
and a plethora of information.
Oh yeah. So they will provide us lots of perspectives and lots of fun. And I'm looking forward to diving into this first one.
Excellent. Let's do it. So our guest today is Rebecca Robledo. She is the deputy editor of Pool and Spa News and Aquatics International, which used to be just Pool and Spa News. Both Mike and I have known Rebecca for at least 25 years. She is an award-winning trade journalist with more than 30 years of experience reporting on and editing content for the pool, spa, and aquatics industries. She specializes in technical, complex, and detail-oriented subject matter. For this coverage and editing, she has received numerous awards, including 4 Jesse H. Neal Awards, considered by many to be the Pulitzer Prize of Trade Journalism. She's based in Los Angeles, and Rebecca is amazing. We're so glad to have her on the show.
Right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor.
So the reason we wanted to have you on, Rebecca, is because obviously you've been around the industry a long time. So you offer a little different insight because you're offering it as an editor and as somebody that contributes to magazines. And so we just wanted to get a little insight from you. We want to learn a little bit more about you, what you've been doing, what got you into the pool industry, and what inspires you. So my first question for you is really, how did you end up being an editor for a Pool and Spa News magazine or for a pool magazine?
Well, it's like a lot of people in the pool industry. It was kind of a surprise along the way, and kind of once I got in, that was it. I got sucked in, and I fell in love with it. I actually, when I was in college, I did a short internship. I did some internship hours with a pool and spa publication, another pool and spa publication, and a friend had gotten me that job to work over Christmas break, and so I worked there for a little bit. And the first thing he taught me was how to spell diatomaceous earth. So there was that. That was a big one. So I think I still think that's why I got this job. And then after I graduated from college, I was looking around, and I this job opportunity came up, and I didn't know what it was for, because in the ad they didn't it didn't give a name. It gave a publishing company name, but not the name of the magazine. And when I was trying to find a job, I had a voicemail message that said, "This is so and so from Pool and Spa News calling for Rebecca." And I thought I misheard things because I'd heard of the magazine before, but so that was it. And I at the time I was living in Phoenix, so I flew into LA and did a job description, and of course made sure that I knew how to spell diatomaceous earth, and then I got the job, and so that was more than 30 years ago.
That's just what I was going to ask you, is how long were you at Pool and Spa News? Over 30 years?
Yeah, I've been there over 30 years. Yeah, and like I said, I just there's so much about the industry to love, and so I've really loved the industry, and so I started writing about products, and then I started writing stories, and now I'm the deputy editor of the magazine.
So tell me what a deputy editor is compared to like I don't know, the main editor. Are you the editor then now? I mean, after.
No, no. The editor is Joanne McLean. She's the editor in chief. And so I'm the deputy editor, and we both, I handle, I still do some of the writing. I edit some of the copy that comes in. I help with the planning. We work very closely together.
What is the, so you've been in the industry for over 30 years, been writing about swimming pools and the swimming pool industry. What is like the most interesting project that you've ever written about that is just like over the top, amazing, crazy? You looked at it the first time and went, wow, that is something else.
Well, there's one that we're writing about right now. We've been tracking it for the past couple of years with Rick Chafee over at Red Rock Pools in the Phoenix area. And that one is really exciting because it incorporates some water park features into a backyard. So that is the craziest that comes to mind. It's going to have a surf simulator. It's got a huge lazy river. It's going to have an underground go-kart track and a shark tank and with a window. And it's just, it's insanely large, and it has a lot of features and definitely built for fun. So I think that one is the most, just most complicated and just kind of feature packed feature that I've seen.
I've seen the plans on that thing. It is absolutely unbelievable. Rick does an amazing job, and he does some crazy, crazy projects. He's got a great team. Love seeing all of his stuff. It's really, really good. I'm not surprised that you brought that one up.
No, and it's just crazy engineering and just like thousands of hours of planning and thousands of pages of plans. So it's amazing.
Gotcha. So next question is, because you've been around for so long, what do you think has changed the most, say, in the last 5 years? Because I know that prior to COVID, things were a certain way. And during COVID, our industry, we were fortunate, just exploded. But did you see any specific differences in the way builders are doing business? Obviously, they were doing Zoom call, et cetera. But what happened, it seemed like, at least from our perspective as builders, is our industry kind of morphed into, we're swimming pool builders, but now we're outdoor industry, outdoor entertainment area builders. And now we're doing far more than we've ever done before. So from your perspective, what are you seeing that's different from just a few years ago?
Well, definitely the way that people are doing business, like you said, being able to do things remotely like we're doing right now. So being able to handle the design and the first consultations over Zoom. I mean, a lot of what people are talking to me about is that kind of technology. I mean, just having, being able to chat with people and, communicate with them via text. It's making it easier for people to communicate while the project's going on and to get photos and videos of the project in progress and that kind of thing. The other thing that's not necessarily related to COVID, but I think that this Department of Energy ruling about energy efficient motors is going to have a big impact, certainly on energy spending, because now all pumps made in the US for pools and spas have to meet certain efficiency requirements. And so I think that's going to help consumers save in their electricity costs.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. That's a great one. So what is your favorite part of your job? I mean, you've been in it for a long time, so clearly you love it. You said that more than once. But what is something that brings you a lot of joy in your job? What do you like doing as the editor? What is like makes you feel happy and good and excited about, our industry?
Just learning new things. And aside from the people who I love and who've been extremely kind and, very supportive and generous with their information, for the betterment of the industry, aside from the people and the fun aspect, it's been just, there's so many dimensions to the pool industry that I think a lot of people don't appreciate. To be a good pool builder, you need to be able to design a pool. You need to, either engineer the pool or know when to send it out for engineering. You have to worry about hydrostatic pressure and keeping this structure and having it last for decades underground. And then you have to, take care of your client and, distinguish the difference between what they want and, what they, maybe have more competitive feelings with and are trying to keep up with their neighbors versus what they actually want. And, dealing with different communication styles. There's just so much going on. So just learning. And then, of course, some of these projects are, amazing. And, having people share their business acumen and all the interesting ways that they're adapting to different times right now is very interesting. So it's the learning aspect and it's kind of just feeding off of people's brilliance and their enthusiasm for what they do.
Right, because like every day it's different. You're dealing with something
Mhm.
entirely different. So there's not some monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the way it is for you guys, and so
Oh, yes, we
I'm
love
lucky
it.
because that's the way it is for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so these are going to be questions since you've been around along, for a while.
Mhm.
If you were to build a brand new pool, bought a new house, bought a new pool, you've seen all these designs, you've seen all these features. As an editor and as somebody that has a lot more knowledge of all the things that are available out there, if Rebecca was going to build a pool, what are some of the features you would put on it?
I would want some kind of, gently trickling waterfall, maybe a rain curtain, because a rain curtain can be both very relaxing because it does kind of simulate the sound of rain, but you can also ratchet it up and make it a little more impactful during, get-togethers and parties and things like that. I might want a lazy river because again, um, it can convert from a relaxing feature where you just kind of kind of cruising through your backyard and taking in the design of your backyard and your pool, or it could be something that you have a lot of fun in. And it's also something that you can get some exercise done in. You can walk against the current and that kind of thing. And then I just, I love mosaic tile. So I would definitely have some kind of mosaic tile feature,
Like in the
whether it
bottom,
was, I'm sorry?
like in the bottom of it?
In the bottom or in a fountain
Oh, gotcha.
or, just, any kind of application. Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about doing a whole pool in that, of course, is that the whole pool glows. The nice thing about it's same thing with doing a vanishing edge and covering that in the glass tile mosaic. It just really has a glowing effect. But even a simple water feature, I just would want to incorporate that in some way.
Everybody wants a lazy river.
Yeah, I can't blame them, man.
Yep. It makes the pool absolutely massive, and we've got to have all kinds of stuff on it. Great answer.
Right. And
Uh,
it's interesting to see how some designers are finding ways to do them in with smaller footprints by maybe having them go around in a circuit as opposed to being long and meandering.
mhm. I think you actually did an article on a lazy river pool I did almost 20 years ago. In fact, Mike and I were talking about before we started the podcast. He said something on the order of Rebecca did his first article, and I was thinking you
Yeah.
might have done my first article as well.
Oh wow.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's an honor. It's been great to cover your work.
well, thank you. Mike's done a lot of amazing stuff. Okay, so here's the next question. And I'm asking these because your perspective is very different probably from ours. And that's really what
Sure.
the show is all about. What is one visual and one maintenance feature that you would do that most people don't think about that would actually improve not only their experience with the swimming pool, but just the maintenance side of it?
If you can get an automation system,
Mhm.
I would suggest that you do that because it's going to take care of so much of the work for you. Especially now, I think I'd mentioned variable speed pumps.
Yep.
With your pumps that can change speed depending on the application, and controllers are really great for those because you can during times when you need it to be pumping more water, you can make it go faster, and when you don't need as much water, when you just kind of in maintenance mode, it can go slower and save you some money. So if I could get a controller, I would add that to my pool for sure.
Yeah, we've definitely gone 100% control systems. The pools are just too
Yeah.
complex anymore. And you're right. I mean, with the VSP pumps and with all the lighting and
Mhm.
everything, it's kind of hard to do it walking out, 40, 50, 100 feet out to your pool equipment, be changing stuff all the time. So I think that the automation is a
Right.
big deal for sure. Thank you for
Right.
that. Um, and then I had asked you earlier, what are the changes in the last 4 or 5 years in the pool and outdoor living environment and what its impact has had on homeowners. Again, you know, as you talk to a lot of builders, what's some of the things that you're hearing that people are asking about and doing?
Well, I think I've touched on what I think have been the biggest impacts, which are the energy efficiency aspect of it.
So they're
And I
basically
understand.
changing the fact that in Phoenix, or at least in Arizona, certainly in
uh
Texas, almost everything. If your circulation pump has to be a variable speed, that's been that way for a while. You're saying that all the auxiliary pumps are now going to VSP pumps. Is that right?
Um, I believe, yeah, any pump that's sold in the U.S. needs to meet certain energy
And
efficiency requirements.
got it.
I don't think they don't all need to be VSPs,
Mm.
but they are. It is easier for them to pass the test and meet those efficiency requirements if they are VSPs.
So they're just engineering them just to be more efficient. So we're saving people money on electricity.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if
I
you were,
would
I'm sorry, go ahead. Hello? All right.
Great.
go.
Now, if you were to recommend a friend to find a pool or outdoor living designer, and let's just say they didn't live in your area, how
Mhm.
would somebody find somebody that lives in a different area from your perspective? How would they find somebody? How does somebody know?
Well, if some and they don't know anybody in that area.
Like, say somebody lives in North Carolina
Hmm.
and they decide they want to get a pool and they're going to do
Hmm.
something, you know, pretty nice, but they're not really sure who to use. So typically people go to the phone book or they get on the internet, they type in something, 2, 3 companies come up, they start calling. But if somebody wanted to find, you know, somebody that was really qualified, maybe had a lot of education, a lot of experience, been around for a while,
Hmm.
what's a resource that you would recommend to somebody to find those people? Because there's
Well,
lots of good people around the country, but how do people
mhm.
find them?
you, I think the best way is to look through our industry organizations, to look through our buyers groups and our um, fraternal organizations and our associations, and see what kind of education that they've been taking, um, with regards to, like the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance, Watershape University, Genesis. In when you're looking for a builder, I would advise looking to see what kind of education that they have in that respect. If you're just looking for a place, kind of a portal to find people in your area, you can look through buyers groups and, again, these uh, fraternal organizations isn't the right word, but these organizations where, um, you know people, they get together and they learn about design and running their business together. You could learn there. I would suggest looking at if your state has a registrar of contractors, find out what their status is, find out how good their license is, and try to find out about the people who own the company, not only the company itself, if it hasn't been around for that long. And then when you're talking to them, I would suggest, if you're choosing a designer because you like the pictures that you've seen on their website, or if they're making a PowerPoint presentation or whatever, ask if they designed and built those pools.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't understand necessarily all of the ways that intellectual property works. And so sometimes they're borrowing other people's pictures. So find out if they designed the pool, find out if they built the pool, and, find out if that designer is still around, if they did design the pool. And then, if you're able to see some of their projects firsthand, take the opportunity and, check the materials and see how well they look, and, look at the water flow and make sure that it's uniform, and especially on things like vanishing edges. So those are the things that I would suggest to somebody who's looking for a qualified designer and builder.
Those are great. Those are really awesome. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
This is the last question, and we're going to let you off the hook. What skills are important for a designer to have, and how would they have gotten those skills? So
Um,
we
mhm.
not only talk to, our listeners are not only consumers, but we have a lot of people in the industry, and I think we have a fairly young audience actually within the industry listening. So the younger guys are coming up, and there's some great ones coming. What's the best way for those people to get an education in the industry?
Read Pool and Spa News.
Well, we've got great
Besides
educational
reading your
opportunities
magazine.
now. Yes, of course. Well, I think that went without saying.
Right.
Well, we've got some great educational opportunities and offerings in the industry. So I would suggest that you take advantage of those. Some of the skills that I think are maybe not valued as much, or that we could stand to learn more about, are I don't know how would you say, they're a little more subtle. It's things like combining materials, combining colors, scaling projects so that they're not too big or too small, that kind of thing. And so I would, suggest taking classes with some of our higher end design groups within the industry, or, even going out and maybe taking some landscape classes or art classes to learn how to do that. But I think we've become so good at the technical aspect, and we've become so knowledgeable about putting in features and making sure that they work. And we've got all these wonderful materials at our disposal, and people are not afraid to use them. But I think now the next step is to learn how to combine all of those things and learn how to kind of scale them and fit them in the yard so that we have a space that just, kind of fits our users like a glove.
That was a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's absolutely correct. May I offer you my profuse thank you for coming on the show?
Oh, thank you. It was a huge honor, and I so appreciate it, and can't wait to see more episodes.
All righty. Thanks, Rebecca. We appreciate it a whole bunch. Can't wait to see you again. You coming to Dallas next year? Or this year? We'll see you then.
Yeah, later this year. See you then.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Coming up next on the show is Leah Frederick. She is the president and owner of View Custom Pools in North Carolina. I'm interested in talking to her because I was stationed in North Carolina eons ago, and I'm curious how far she is from one of the bases I was at.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Clarkson University. She's the former PHTA North Carolina chapter president. She's been involved with PHTA, NPC, which is the National Plaster Council, MSPB, IWI, and Water Shapes University Dean of Culture, expert witness, former Red Cross instructor trainer, professional rescue, and CPR. She's got a lot of great experience as well, and I can't wait to talk to her.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Leah's a great person to talk to, and we got to talk to her about her trip.
Okay.
She's taking a trip with Water Shapes University to Chile.
Oh, they're going to Punta. No, they're going to, what's the name of that place?
Mitsubishi. We're going to really butcher this.
Right.
Come on, Spider. Help us here.
Machu Picchu.
Yes, Spider, you're the man.
They're taking a Genesis trip there, so there's a bunch of people going.
This is Water Shapes University.
This Water Shapes University.
Yes.
That's going to be a great trip.
Yeah, she went last year and thought it was so beneficial. She came back. She's like, hey, we got to take a group of people.
But what they're talking about there, because there's no water there, is just design.
Well,
and patterns and stuff like that.
Actually, a lot of the terracing and the water flow that was done on that area is still functioning today.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, it's got to be really neat.
Yeah. So there is water flowing.
In Chile, they have that massive, massive pool, which is, 1,000 times bigger than the one up in North Dallas. It's the biggest man-made swimming pool on the planet.
Yes.
It is huge.
Well, we don't have a ton of time, so we kind of want to jump in because we've got lots of curious questions to ask you since you're an icon in the pool industry.
I don't know about that.
Oh, well, there's very few people that have the certifications that you have. You're a master's through PHTA, right? And
correct.
You have your IWI professional certification as well. And
yes.
And a Red Cross certification.
Well, I had to drop that years ago when I decided that I was going to, it was just too much.
To keep it recertified.
certify all of our lifeguards at the swim and tennis clubs that we own. And then it just got too busy during the busiest part of the pool season. So they have to find their own certifications now.
So we read your bio, and I have one curious question. So how do you get from mechanical engineering to the pool industry?
It was kind of a long journey, but when I was young, I was always into pools. I was that kid that would ride their bike to the swim and tennis club for swim practice or swim team, stay there all day long, and then wait for my parents to come pick me up when the pool closed. And then you fast forward, and during my teenage years and all the way through college, really the only job I ever had was lifeguarding or teaching swim lessons.
Gotcha.
And after college, I actually did work in corporate America for about 8 years as a mechanical engineer. I was really more of a senior project manager. But then I quit when I got engaged and went to work for the same company that my husband was working for. And we were managing he was managing multiple swim and tennis clubs. I was managing one of those, the one here in Greensboro. And then a few years later, we bought that swim and tennis club and have since bought a second one. And in that transaction, I quit engineering and went back to, that's when I was doing all the Red Cross stuff, certifying all of our employees and training other instructors and just running a swim and tennis club day in and day out. So in that transition, I ended up going back and teaching swimming lessons just for fun and really just kind of fell in love with it. Well, there was a guy that we knew that was working on these 2 pools that we owned.
Right.
And he needed somebody to help him run a pool construction company. And he didn't really know how to run a business. He knew how to build pools. So we teamed up with him in 2008 and we worked with him. I did the design end of things. My husband kind of did the business end of things and he built the pools. And that's when we kind of got involved with continuing education, and the Genesis program at the time had
Right.
kind of just rolled out in like 2010, 2009, somewhere in there. And we saw it at a conference and we started going to it because neither of us, and I certainly, neither of us had been from a construction background at all. And we were learning that, we weren't doing things the proper way. And by going to these classes, we did learn how to do things correctly and started down that road. I kind of went down the design path and George went down the construction path. And then a few years into it, we actually split from our business partner at the time because he was not open to continuing education. And I went and got my general contractor license and we opened our own business.
Awesome.
In 2013, 12.
That's a great story. There's so many people in our industry that don't see any value in the education, and I commend you for recognizing how important it is. And we have such great opportunities now within the industry that there's really not a lot of excuses left to not figure out how it should be done. So
There's
kudos
not.
to you
And I'll
guys.
tell you, I always said, we all know that COVID was great for our industry, but for the educational component of it, and now having multiple platforms to learn from, whether it's PHTA or Genesis or WaterShape, what that forced everybody to do was come up with new content. And,
Right.
We can't go into a conference teaching all the same things that we were teaching, these core classes. And so now there's just tons of classes out there and tons of different things to learn, whether it's free modules online or ones that you pay for certifications. And I just think that it really helped the industry kind of leapfrog forward with best practices and content out there to learn from.
Oh yeah. It took me 2 decades to get my master's certification, and
Well, me
now,
too.
well,
Well, that's
and
15 years.
I explained to people that there was no online classes, when we first started,
Right.
which there's,
Yeah.
like you said, a plethora of that today. And then, you'd go to a conference and you might get 1 or 2 classes.
One class.
That was
One
it,
class a year. Yep.
and so it was
I think
kind
it took
of,
me eight years to get to the SWD level
yes.
of Genesis. Was like 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you
So
could probably do it in 8 months.
that'd be a tough 8 months, but it's certainly much more possible than it was in the past. And like you said,
Mhm.
it teaches you all the things that you wish you knew when you started, but at least you know how to get things headed in the right direction. So
Leah, I got a question for you. You don't have to answer it. How do you like that? So, like Mike, and I haven't spent as much money as Mike has, but I've spent tens of thousands of dollars over the course of the years on continuing education. I know he spent more than me because he spent a lot more time in it. I'm curious, and the reason I'm asking this question is, for everybody listening, there's a way to do stuff and you have to learn how to do it. If you're new to the industry and you haven't, gone to these educational opportunities, you need to start sooner than later. And it is just part of a career is you invest in yourself.
Yeah.
You go to these programs, you get certified. But my question is, how much money do you think you have spent on your pool industry? And I'm not talking about your mechanical engineering industry. And obviously you see the benefit of education because you are a mechanical engineer. So, I love it. This is great.
So, oh gosh, I bet easily $150,000 easily, and we've got 2 of us. So my husband and I are both
you and George
these
both.
levels. So probably twice that.
That is a massive commitment to excellence.
Massive commitment, but it's also put us in our area, at least, as the lead builder from a quality standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't even put a pool in for $150,000.
Right.
So take all of that knowledge and dwindle it down to one pool, basically.
Well, no, and that's the interesting part because, you have a company that knows how to do it right. Let's just say it's $150,000 and then a homeowner gets an estimate from somebody else and it's $110,000. They think you're just charging $40,000 extra just for the sake of charging extra. When in fact, you're doing so much more on the construction side of it and ensuring that it's built the way it should be built. So it stands the test of time and people have a good experience.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time, especially, at our first appointment with the homeowner, not so much convincing them that, we're the builder that they need to build with, but educating them all along the way. And then when we get to the estimate part, there's certain bullet points that I put in there that are specific to the way that we build things.
Right.
And I tell the homeowners, I said, the reason I'm telling you this is because if you go to talk to somebody else, ask them these questions, because this is how you're supposed to be building a pool. We use number 4 steel and we do it on 10-inch centers. I know not everybody does that, and that's okay. But we've just seen a lot of renovation work that it's just really shoddy, and it's not that much more expensive to build a solid structure like that.
Okay.
And the homeowner gets a better product.
100%. So you set me up for my next question. So our podcast is primarily for the homeowner. Okay. We're trying to educate homeowners on what things that they should be looking at. So if you were to build a pool today, okay, for yourself, a pool and outdoor living space, what are a couple of features that you would want in that space and why?
That's a great question.
So I would want a water feature of some sort. And what I have in mind is kind of like a very subtle water wall, very soft noise, white noise, nothing. I think a lot of times I go into design meetings and they want these, roaring waterfalls, which, they turn on a few times and they realize how loud they are. But I would want something that's a little bit more relaxing and peaceful and functions as a privacy. I would also want, my parents have this at their, they just moved into a house in South Carolina at a Del Webb neighborhood. And pool is fantastic, but they have these little like socializing coves. And that's what I call them. They kind of look like a little half circle, although they're not circular. They're kind of squared off with some radius corners. And there's just a little bench in there and bubbles in it. And there could be 100 people in the pool. And they're in groups of 6 or 8 sitting in these little coves all the way. And there's bunches of them at this pool, but
So it's a community
it is
pool.
just something that I think is really cool for a hangout area. And I've built it into some commercial pools and 1 or 2 residential. But it's just a cool little area to hang out in and be face to face with people versus a bench that just like at a bar.
Right.
You know, when you're sitting along the bar and you're having to turn your head to talk to somebody versus sitting across the table from somebody or on a corner. I think it's just easier to socialize like that. And sitting in a pool is even better.
So does it have a table in the space, or is it just like a U-shaped
I've
bench?
done them with tables. No, these don't.
Okay.
They just have little jets.
You said
and they're not even like jets that you turn on and off. It's just water and air coming out.
so they've set up like almost like a Venturi return that's got water, like a spa jet almost in them.
Almost, yeah. They're not as powerful as spa jets,
Right.
but it's just something that you sit on, and it's more like bubbles coming up off the floor or through the walls, and it's not loud like a spa.
Okay.
It's just really kind of just
Understood.
water moving around in these little areas, so that probably to keep the dirt off the benches.
So a place to hang out and a cool water feature would be your
Mhm.
2 choices. Awesome.
Yeah, not a very noisy water feature though.
So your tip with homeowners is to be careful of big water features with high decibel ratings, because you're really not going to sit out there by it and enjoy it.
Yeah. One of the very first big renovations I did was the homeowner wanted to drown out the noise of the neighbors behind them because they had teenagers and they were always, and they also had a pool. So it was like the teenager hangout. And so we put on this pool, we renovated it and put a big ledge on there with bubblers. We made his half moon spa into a full circle spa that had 3 spillways. And then we also put on these, they were called fireflies at the time. They were like these little like
Oh yeah.
wand, like they did have, I think they had lights on them at the time.
Crystal fountains.
It's a long time ago. And it was just like on both sides of the pool spilling into it. And they said when they entertained and turned on everything, they couldn't hear us sing from their own party because there was so much water noise. So it was a little bit of an overkill. But the funny part of the whole story was that the homeowners behind them moved before we even finished the pool
Oh
renovation.
my.
So all this work to quiet the neighbors behind them, and then they end up getting new neighbors. But it ended up being a really nice renovation anyways.
Awesome. So, got a question?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So in North Carolina, building pools, what are some of the things that homeowners either ask you or are confused or concerned about when building a pool? What are some of the things that you deal with maybe specifically in North Carolina that possibly we don't deal with here in Texas? However, I think that because I've been to both places, they're similar. I'm imagining you have soil conditions there that are pretty bad.
Well, yeah, we have clay,
Mhm.
red clay everywhere, unless you go out towards, it's kind of funny, right where I'm at is all red clay. And then you go east of us, to the sand hills and, they've got sand. And then you go west of us to the mountains and they've got rock. So, expansive soil. There's not a lot of new builders in our area. They tend to, if they do come in as a new builder, very quickly, I think they realize that clay is not super easy to build in.
Nope.
But as far as in our area specific that I get asked about, I think probably the number one thing I get asked about, and I don't think this is specific to our area, but that people are still really, really misled on what salt chlorinated pools are.
Oh, yeah.
I think that there's no chlorine at all, and we actually don't really even do salt, but we will if there's a very heavy demand for it.
Is there, from a maintenance standpoint, do you have a preference on something a customer might want to explore?
No salt.
Uh,
Yeah, we do what's called low chlorine systems. So when I explain it to the homeowner, I show them, we're putting ozone and UV on there. We're using chemical automation for your pH and your either liquid chlorine, and your chlorine levels will be much less than that of a pool without some of these,
Absolutely.
additional.
Good.
So usually their goal is to kind of get away from chlorine. And once you kind of explain to them that salt is not necessarily the answer for that. Now, in some scenarios, I don't mind putting salt on, but probably 99% of my pools, I don't.
Right.
right. So what would you say for a homeowner that maybe built a pool 5 years ago? They're going to come build a pool today. What are the changes that have happened in the last 4 or 5 years to our industry, or the requests that you have? I mean, you do a lot more outdoor living projects incorporated. So what would you say is if someone was coming to you, what would be the things you'd want to think about today versus 5 years ago?
So I try to look at, especially the outdoor living part of it, I try to look at it from a functionality standpoint, and I let the homeowners know, like, an outdoor kitchen is not the same thing as an indoor kitchen. And a couple of things that I really try to emphasize is lighting. Like, outdoor lighting really could take a really, really cool space during the day and make it just fantastic, 10 times better at night.
Absolutely.
So, spend the money in lighting, which also brings me to the LED technology now on our pool lights has finally caught up to the rest of the world with its technology. And now we can dim and do any color that we want, and also have white, have the best of all worlds now in
Right.
pool lighting.
You're essentially designing
And
for the
then-
daytime and the nighttime is what you're saying. As you
Yeah.
guide your
I think all
clients
too often the outdoor lighting component gets squashed,
Mm-hmm.
and it really should be pretty high up there on the make it awesome list.
For sure.
Oh, it makes a big difference in a space. And quite
Mhm.
honestly, you live at home more at night than you do during the day.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, you're going to be using that space probably more at night. And if it's lit up well, you'll really be using it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The lighting's really key.
If it's lit up bad, you probably won't use it at all.
Right. Okay. So you have a friend and they're not in North Carolina, and you're going to recommend them. How would you go about finding a pool designer to work for them? What would your recommendations for them to look, how to find that person?
So whether it's a friend or even a homeowner that's looking for a designer or a builder, I tend to equate it to the similarity of building a house. Like, you wouldn't go blindly into building a house without a designer involved or an architect or a building professional. And then I would make sure that they are doing their homework and find out what makes them or what qualifies them as a design professional. Is it a degree? Is it a industry degree? Is it a college degree? What is kind of their specialty? And not that I wouldn't say I have a specialty by any means, but I think the accreditations and the licenses out there for design professionals now are such that you could really be blindsided by somebody that just calls themselves a designer.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, there's some people that grab a 3D program and crank out some stuff, and they're a designer now.
Speaking
So-
of 3D
Right.
programs, what program do you use for your presentations?
So we do, for our design reveals, we use our concepts are done in VIP, Pool Studio,
Okay.
VIP 3D. And then we also will do our construction drawings with AutoCAD.
Gotcha.
So a combination of both of those.
Awesome. So when they go to and they find this designer, what skills should that designer have, and how would that designer get those skills?
Well, there's all kinds of classes out there to get skills. I even go to ones that aren't specific to what I'm doing. Like we just got back from like a Techo block all one day workshop, but it was specific to pools. And we don't really even do a lot of pavers, but I was hoping, that just learning some of the stuff that they teach their installers, that and seeing some of their new products, we would be able to, advance our knowledge of that product specifically. As far as a designer goes, I guess I would look at somebody that is open to working with the outdoor elements. Shade is one of the big things that we often find ourselves designing into spaces. And, you could put a shade structure up anywhere, but if you don't put it up in the right spot, it's really not very functional.
Yep.
And so I do think our software helps us understand that by being able to show people different times of the day in the middle of the summer where that sun is actually going to fall, and are they actually going to get the shade that they're looking for? Are they going to get it, at 6 p.m. when they don't need it anymore? So things like that.
You're talking like a designer.
What's that?
You're talking like a designer.
Yeah, she is a good designer.
I'm a designer.
I love it.
The other thing I think is important, and I'm really, really lucky to have the designer that works for me came out of she was an interior designer by degree, but she also worked in a restaurant design. So understanding the ins and outs and functionality of how a kitchen layout needs to be is
Wow, she's probably real good.
is really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're involved with Watershape University, and I understand that you went on a really awesome trip this last year, and that now you are going to host other people
Yes.
to go on a similar trip. Can you tell us about the trip?
Sure. So one of the things I find is that travel really, from a designer's eye, I find that travel opens up my mind to more than anything that I do. Going to different cultures, seeing different ways that people decorate things, different ways that they use stone, different ways that they do drains. You could get a lot of inspiration from seeing other cultures in other parts of the world, and going to gardens and stuff like that. Yes, I got to go to Peru in 2021. Went with my cousins. Actually, there was 15 of us, and we were hiking. And so when I got back, I actually did some research on Peru, and I found out that I had missed. Well, I didn't really miss. I didn't know that they were there. A lot of things that the Incas did with respect to water and water resources. And there's also, at the time, it's not the biggest fountain park in the world now anymore. Dubai is, but there is a water park there, not like a water park that you go down on slides, but like a fountain park that does a show a couple times every evening right in Lima. And I didn't get to see that. So I am organizing a trip in September for anybody that wants to go. And it's going to be focused around water. And I actually am trying to do several of these trips. I don't know exactly where we're going to go next, but hopefully every couple of years or so, we'll have a trip that takes anybody in our industry and that wants to be culturally enlightened. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And it's not going to be so much educational as much as it is going to be like, okay, yeah, this is really cool to see all these different things that maybe we don't have here in the United States, or, things that were done hundreds of years ago that are still in use that you'd think that we'd be able to do here in the United States with some longevity to it.
I agree. The travel is super important and very enlightening. I spent a lot of years traveling in the military all over the world, and saw lots of stuff that is inspiring for sure.
Well, my wife is always like, "You're such a pool nerd. Every time you go somewhere,
I'd say the same. I'm a pool nerd.
you're studying how the drain in the patio works and taking a picture of this, weird thing here." And when we went to
it's called a sickness.
Yeah, well, I've got it. So
we all have it.
The only cure
I do. I admit I call myself a water nerd.
Yeah, so I got about 5-6 years ago, I got to go to Rome, Italy, which I never thought I would get to go to. And it was just like an overload because there's so much there, and so much things that's been constructed and things of beauty that have, lasted centuries. And it's kind of funny, we can't build something that lasts 20 years here,
right.
But anyway, so I really look forward to. Your date for the trip conflicted with something I already had planned. Otherwise, I would have already been signed up. So I'm looking
we've
forward.
got a good group going.
I'm looking forward to, hopefully you get your dates out there for your next one sooner than later. And so,
I will. Yeah, I wanted to figure out where we're going to go next. I have a whole list of places. I don't know whether the international end of things is good for everybody. So I thought about maybe doing it every other year internationally to give people some time to plan for that.
Well, I know Jason Brownlee's a huge fan of Japan right at the moment. So
yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a cool trip there.
Yeah, actually. Trips. So one of the things I just took his advanced design class back in the fall, and the whole class was really a deep dive into design details and how to design a space that you never want to leave. And it was just such a fantastic class. And he talked about everything from Disney World, the attention to details that they had. And we talked about all the things that they go through just to make it so you never want to leave, Disney World. Right. And you don't even realize that you're like in Orlando. You think that you're in like Hogwarts. Yes. And then he talked also about spas, and I never really thought about that. But shortly after taking that class, I went to a really top resort spa that was on one of the heritage trips in Mexico, and it was unbelievable how the experience before your actual spa, whatever you signed up to do, your massage, they had a 90-minute aqua, what do they call it? Hydrotherapy. And you went to 11 different things, and they had somebody kind of shuffling you around into all these different experiences, but everything was just a sensory thing, whether it was hot water or cold water or bubbled water or all these different pools and saunas that you went to for 90 minutes before your actual massage, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
And and it was over 3 stories. Like they had water coming down 3 stories into some of these pools.
It's amazing the fun things that we get to see and do.
Yes.
As professionals in the swimming pool design industry. So we really, really appreciate you getting on with us and helping homeowners understand some things and exposing us some things, and hopefully some of us can travel with you and see some more things.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one thing that I do try to talk homeowners into, and I just think it's a design detail that I'm finding it's not that easy to find here in North Carolina, but template, like when they have curves in freeform pools, which we do a good bit of, is to find somebody that can template and fabricate the coping. I think is such a design detail that gets overlooked, and everybody uses these little small pieces of coping and tries to just cut them and chop them up so they fit around the curves.
The little pies.
If you can find yourself a good templater and good fabricator that can cut bigger slabs into curves, it just looks so much better.
Yeah, awesome tip. Well, any last thoughts for a homeowner working on their project?
The other thing I can't stand to see is people that don't use the pebble filled. If you're going to put a drain in the floor, at least color it,
Right.
or fill it with pebble.
Yes.
Don't just have a big piece of plastic down there. And it's the same thing with the skimmers. There's so many ways to hide your skimmer lids now.
Oh, yes.
It's such an easy thing to do.
Yes. Jason Brownlee exposed me. I was in the class with you. Yes. So.
He exposed
yeah.
you?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
He exposed you?
Yeah. Remember he lambasted me about my skimmer lids on my particular project.
That's right.
Yes.
I do remember.
So little did he know that I switched. That job was just sold several years before we found out about hide skimmer lids. Anyway, so anyway,
Yeah.
But we all learn and live. So, I mean, I remember David Tischerman giving everybody a hard time about their plastic and, their plastic drains. So we all have come a ways since that.
Was there anything he didn't give everybody a hard time
You're
about?
right.
Well, no, that was just David. He was an artist at that. So anyway, and he had a very passionate individual that brought a lot of things to the pool industry.
I just enjoyed whipping him in cribbage.
Yeah. Well, we have to jump on
the very first, that big renovation I told you about that we did long time ago. They didn't have colored drains or, lids then. And we got that picture put in a magazine, Pool and Spa magazine at the time. And no joke, there's a picture of our spa sitting there and all the features going, and all I can see is the white drains.
Yep.
That whole picture.
That's what we do to
drives
ourselves.
Me insane.
Yeah. Well,
we've changed them since then, but
we all have. So we appreciate your time. We have to jump on another call, but
absolutely. Thank you.
We'll put your contact information.
Yeah, send us some pictures. We'll put some pictures up and we'll promote you.
Yes, especially your trip. So, but thanks again, Leah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
That was really awesome talking about her and George and the investment that they've made in education.
Oh, absolutely. It's what it takes.
And they parted ways with the guy that they were working with because he didn't see the advantage of that. And now they have one of the best pool companies there in North Carolina. And
most of us have been around a while that have worked possibly for organizations that could care less.
Yeah. So, but I really thought that was cool. But her thoughts on lighting in the outdoors, I think, is something that, we've talked about before. It's such a dramatic difference when you have good lighting.
And I saw something on one of the social media platforms last night. It was a whole front yard that was decked out with PAL lighting and all kinds of stuff. And it was just nuts. It was crazy. I mean, there's so much to do with lighting. And that's always been something really important to me that I've expressed to people, especially in Phoenix, because I mean, it's hot there and people generally use their pool more in the evenings than at night. And so, trying to, compel them to think about nighttime design as well was just part of the program.
Yeah. So I think that her thoughts about looking for a designer to just find out what their certifications and knowledge base were, whether it's college or through the industry, there's so much available now that if you're going to have a big investment, you know, you want to make sure that somebody has that knowledge base.
Well, she brought up something that I keyed on, and that was, you know, you wouldn't hire a home builder and just let them go carte blanche. You're going to have a team of people. There's a process to it. It takes a little bit of time to put together. I mean, you and I have been doing this so long that we remember back when we were just, you know, drawing on paper at people's table, and you know, there wasn't that many options. It was an 80 perimeter pool, 3 feet of deck around, and it's X. We've been now, as we've talked about, morphed into this. We're outdoor designers.
Yes.
You know, and there's a lot going on.
Yes. So I thought her term too is she gets to do a design reveal.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. I like that term. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Leah's got some really cool stuff that she's done, and they have a great company, and she's got some great plans on some trips, which I think a lot of people would find fun, whether you're in the pool industry or if you're just like to travel and see different things. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that she clearly is an asset to our industry and has you know, obviously contributed in a lot of ways and is utilizing the resources that we have within the industry to become even better. That's great.
Awesome.